She strutted toward me at the pool, acting like she ruled the entire neighborhood. Her phone was already dialing 911. "You're trespassing," she barked, loud enough to turn heads. But what she didn't realize was that I held ironclad rights, signed contracts, and a landlord who'd helped shape this community. That single call ignited a wildfire. Police reports, lawsuits, and a decade-old secret that would unravel her world. If you've ever witnessed a Karen implode in spectacular fashion, grab a seat. This one's a masterpiece. Even the cops called it the most epic HOA smackdown I've ever seen. Where are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comments below. I never imagined settling into a peaceful suburban enclave would transform me into a neighborhood sleuth. But that's exactly what unfolded last summer. I'm Canyon Thorne, a 34-year-old freelance landscape architect who just moved into a cozy home in Lakeview Estates. After weeks of unpacking, I was itching to check out the local perks. The summer heat was relentless, and I'd spotted a stunning community pool just a short stroll away. Per my lease with Rowan Hale, my landlord, I had full access to that pool, despite not being part of the Sunny Creek Homeowners Association that oversaw it. It stemmed from a unique deal tied to Rowan's early investment in the development. On a swelteringly unbearable Saturday, I snagged my towel and headed to the pool. The place buzzed with families and sunseekers. I claimed an empty lounger, draped my towel, and was about to plunge in when a tap on my shoulder stopped me. Turning, I faced a woman in her early 50s, her highlighted hair sculpted into a flawless bob, designer shades perched on her nose, and a pastel tennis outfit that screamed, "Never touched a racket." Her arms were folded tightly, her lips pursed in a scowl of authority. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with that unmistakable tone of someone who relishes wielding power. "I'm Sienna Wren, president of the Sunny Creek HOA. Where do you live?" I flashed a friendly smile and offered my hand. "Hi, I'm Canyon Thorne. I just moved into the blue house on Pinerest Lane in Lakeview Estates." Her expression soured instantly. "Lakeview Estates? Then you're not a Sunny Creek resident. This pool is for Sunny Creek homeowners and their guests only. You need to leave now." Caught off guard, but keeping my cool, I replied, "Actually, my property has a special arrangement. My landlord confirmed the house comes with pool access. It's in my lease." Sienna's eyes narrowed to slits. "I've run this HOA for 7 years, and I assure you, no such arrangements exist. Leave now, or I'll call security." I tried, reasoning, but Sienna was done listening. She whipped out her phone, making a theatrical show of dialing. "Hello? Yes, we have an intruder at the Sunny Creek Community Pool who won't budge. I've asked him nicely. Thank you." To avoid a spectacle, I gathered my things and left, feeling humiliated and annoyed as curious sunbathers watched. Walking home, a nagging sense told me something was off. Rowan had been crystal clear about my rights. I double-checked my lease, and there it was, plain as day. Tenant shall have full access to the Sunny Creek Community Pool per the standing. Agreement between property owner and Sunny Creek HOA, dated June 15th, 2013. That was just the spark. I had no clue Sienna's attempt to bar me from the pool would ignite a war she'd regret starting, or that I'd unearth a secret she'd buried from the entire community for a decade. The next day, I phoned Rowan to sort out the pool fiasco. He wasn't just shocked, he was livid. "You absolutely have pool rights," he said, his tone unwavering. "That deal's been in place since Sunny Creek's inception. I was an original investor, and when I kept my house in what became Lakeview Estates, permanent pool access. For my property was part of the package. It's all legally locked in. Sienna knows this. She just ignores it when it fits her narrative." Rowan sent me scanned copies of the original agreement, complete with signatures from the initial developers and past HOA presidents, including Sienna's own from 3 years prior when the deal was reaffirmed. This wasn't some flimsy verbal promise. It was a rock-solid covenant tied to the property. "Sienna's been trying to bury this agreement since she took over," Rowan revealed. "She can't stand outsiders using her precious facilities." She's oddly fixated on your house. Other tenants of mine have faced her nonsense, but nothing as brazen as this. I reached out to Lyra Quinn, a college buddy now practicing as a real estate attorney locally. After reviewing the documents, Lyra confirmed the agreement was bulletproof. Sienna had no legal leg to stand on. "This is a covenant running with the land," Lyra explained. "It's properly executed, recorded with the county, and consistently recognized by past HOA boards. Sienna can't just wish it away. My advice? Draft a formal letter citing the agreement, attach the documents, and carry them whenever you hit the pool. If she pushes back, you've got legal ammo." That night, I bumped into my next-door neighbor, Janet Patel, while grabbing my mail. When I mentioned my run-in with Sienna, Janet gave a knowing eye roll. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said with a wry grin. "Sienna's been on a power rampage since she became HOA president. She tried fining me for planting unapproved roses in my own yard, and I'm not even in Sunny Creek. She thinks her authority stretches everywhere. You're not alone. Plenty of us have clashed with her. But you might be the first with legit paperwork to take her on." Janet dropped a tidbit. Sienna had once been part of another HOA across town, but left under a cloud of suspicion. "There were whispers of shady finances," she said softly, "but nothing was proven." As I headed home, my resolve hardened. This wasn't just about a dip in the pool anymore. It was about confronting a tyrant who'd gone unchallenged too long. I had the legal firepower, and I was ready to use it. What I didn't know was that Sienna was already plotting her next move, one that would escalate our feud beyond my wildest expectations. Armed with my paperwork, I returned to the pool 3 days later. It was a calmer afternoon, with only a few folks lounging by the water. I'd barely spread my towel when Sienna appeared, trailed by a fidgety guy in his late 30s. "I thought I was clear," she announced, her voice booming. "This pool is for Sunny Creek residents only." I stayed composed and pulled out my documents. "Ms. Wren, I have a legal agreement granting my property access. Happy to show you." She swatted away my offer with a sneer. "I don't need your so-called papers. I know every property in our HOA, and yours isn't one." Without glancing at my documents, she dialed her phone. "Yes, hello. Sienna Wren, Sunny Creek HOA president. We have a trespasser at our pool who won't leave. This is the second time. He's disrupting our residence." Hanging up, she smirked. "Police are coming. Leave now to spare yourself." The embarrassment. I held my ground. "I'm not going anywhere. I have every right to be here, and I'll explain that to the police." The man with her, Kevin, I later learned, looked uneasy, muttering something to Sienna, who snapped, "Not now, Kevin," before storming off to await the cops. 15 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up. A tall officer, looking more exasperated than alarmed, approached. Sienna rushed over. "Officer Asher, thank you for coming," she cooed. "This man is trespassing on our private property and refuses to leave." Officer Asher turned to me. "Sir, may I see some ID?" I handed over my license and calmly laid out the situation, presenting the agreement. "I have every right to use this pool, per this binding contract. Ms. Wren knows about it, but chooses to ignore it." Asher studied the documents, while Sienna huffed, tossing out claims of forged papers and expired agreements. After a thorough review, he returned my papers. "Ma'am," he said to Sienna, "based on these, Mr. Thorne has legal access to this facility. This is a civil matter about property rights, not criminal trespassing." Sienna's face turned crimson. "That's absurd. I'm the HOA president. I'd know about any such deal." She demanded a private word with Asher, pulling him aside. Their hushed talk grew heated, and I caught snippets. "Can't have strangers here. Safety risks. Community reputation." Then Sienna's voice spiked. "I won't let another disaster like 10 years ago happen on my watch." What disaster? And why was it tied to me? After their chat, Asher returned. "Mr. Thorne, you're free to stay. Your documents check out." To Sienna he added, "Ms. Wren, misusing emergency services for non-emergencies can carry penalties. If there's a property dispute, talk to your HOA's lawyer, not us." Sienna was furious. "This isn't over," she hissed at me. "The board will handle this." As she stormed off, Asha shot me an apologetic glance. "Off the record." This isn't her first false trespassing call. Sorry about the hassle. I stayed and swam, partly to make a point. While doing laps, I noticed Kevin lingering near my stuff. When I approached, he spoke in a hurried whisper. "I'm Kevin Vale, new board member. Sorry about today. Not everyone on the board backs Sienna's tactics. She's intense about rules and boundaries. Just be careful. She hates being defied." Before I could reply, he scurried off. I thought the police confirmation would end it, but I was wrong. 2 days later, a letter from the HOA arrived, slapping me with a $500 fine for rule violations. That's when I decided to fight back, hard. And what I uncovered digging into the HOA's records left me speechless. It included a slice of my land. The next day, I huddled with Janet and other neighbors who tangled with Sienna. We met in Janet's backyard, swapping war stories. "She had my car towed from my own driveway, claiming it was unsightly," grumbled Bill, an older guy 2 doors down. "I'm not even in her HOA, and it cost me $300 to get it back." Maria chimed in. "She's been creeping the boundary markers. My yard used to be fully outside HOA control. Now Sienna claims half of it falls under their landscaping rules." I revealed the map discrepancies. "Look how the line's been nudged. It's swallowing chunks of properties that should be free and clear of their reach. Through county records, I confirmed the pool was designated a shared amenity, with explicit access rights for certain non-Sunny Creek properties, like mine. I also dug up a failed boundary tweak from a decade ago, nixed after protests from owners, including Rowan. That night, Kevin Vale asked to meet at a diner across town. He sat in a shadowy booth, fidgeting with his phone. "I've been on the board 6 months, he whispered. "Sienna got me elected, mentored me when I moved here. I owe her, but what she's doing is wrong." He spilled that Sienna ruled the HOA like her personal empire, making solo calls. "She's obsessed with expanding Sunny Creek's turf. The boundary shifts you found? Just the start. She's been rewriting old deals and tweaking maps for years." "Why?" I pressed. "Control, mostly," Kevin said. "But also cash. HOA properties pay hefty dues, and Sienna decides where that money goes. Plus, a developer's eyeing land for luxury condos. The bigger Sunny Creek's footprint, the more clout she wields." Kevin was torn. "I can't openly fight her," he admitted, "but I can slip you info, board minutes, financials. Maybe you'll find something useful." Leaving the diner, the stakes felt higher. This wasn't just about pool access. It was a calculated scheme of land grabs, shady finances, and power abuse. My house, somehow, was a thorn in Sienna's side, tied to a past failure she was desperate to erase. I had enough to prove she was out of line, and she had no clue I was bringing it all to the next HOA meeting. The Sunny Creek HOA meeting was set for Tuesday night at the community center. Kevin texted me the bylaws, confirming non-HOA folks could attend as observers. Loaded with documents, maps, and records, I arrived early. About 30 homeowners milled around, with Sienna up front, fussing over papers with other board members. Spotting me, her smile flickered before she marched over. "Mr. Thorne," she said icily, "this meeting's for Sunny Creek residents. You need to go." Before I could answer, Kevin stepped in. "Actually, Sienna, bylaws allow neighboring residents to observe. Section 3, paragraph 7. His voice held steady, though his hands shook. Sienna's glare could have cut glass, but with eyes on her, she backed off. "Fine. Observers sit in the back and stay quiet." As I settled in, Janet and other Lakeview folks joined me. The meeting droned through routine business for 30 minutes before Sienna pivoted to new items. We've had issues with unauthorized facility use, she declared. The board proposes tighter security, keycard pool access, and more patrols. It'll cost a $200 special assessment per household. The room buzzed with unease. An older man raised his hand. What incidents justify this? I'm at the pool daily and haven't seen trouble. Sienna cited multiple outsider incidents, hinting at a recent police call without naming me. When she wrapped up, I raised my hand. She ignored me until homeowners started glancing back, forcing her to call on me. Yes, the man in the back, she said, her tone frosty. I stood. I'm Canyon Thorne, and I believe I'm the incident Miss Wren means. Let me set the record straight. Sienna snapped, Observers can't speak during official business. A woman in the front turned. I want to hear him, especially if we're paying for security because of this. Others nodded, and Sienna grudgingly relented. Thank you, I began. I moved into Lakeview Estates, where my house has a long-standing legal right to this pool. When I tried using it, Ms. Wren dismissed my documentation and called the police. Officer Asher verified my rights, as do your own HOA records. I held up my papers. But that's not all. I've uncovered evidence that your HOA maps have been quietly redrawn to claim land outside your legal boundaries. The room erupted in murmurs as I laid out the maps. This is the county-approved original plan. This is your current HOA map. Notice how the lines shifted, gobbling up parts of Lakeview Estates. Sienna's face paled. These are wild. Lies from a trespasser, she snapped. Not lies, boomed a voice from the door. Rowan Hale stepped in. I'm an original investor in this development. My house's pool access was part of my deal, and I confirm the original map's boundaries are correct, Kevin spoke up. I've checked county records. Mr. Thorne's documents hold up. We reaffirmed the pool access deal 3 years ago. We all signed it, Sienna, including you. A homeowner studying the maps asked, Are we claiming land that's not ours? Sienna stammered. These are legal complexities we shouldn't discuss without our attorney. I jumped in. If it's so complex, maybe we should also ask why the pool was set up with permanent access for Lakeview properties, or why someone tried erasing those rights from county records a decade ago without approval. The meeting spiraled out of Sienna's control. Homeowners pored over maps, demanding answers about misused dues and overreached enforcement. The security proposal was shelved, and calls grew for a boundary and document review. Many thanked me, or for exposing the mess. Kevin pulled me aside. You've kicked off a revolution, he whispered. Sienna won't let this slide. Watch your back. The meeting was a disaster for Sienna, but the real blow came the next day. An anonymous email, packed with proof of misused HOA funds, landed in every member's inbox, and I knew exactly who sent it. Kevin Vale sat in his home office until 3 a.m., his cursor hovering over send. On his screen was an email to all Sunny Creek homeowners, with financial records attached. The subject, what you need to know about your HOA funds. He wrestled with guilt. Sienna had championed him, got him on the board. But the more records he saw, the worse it got. Finally, he hit send and powered down his computer. The email would hit inboxes by dawn. I was clueless about Kevin's move until Janet called me. Have you seen the email about HOA finances? Someone spilled everything on Sienna. She forwarded it. The anonymous email laid bare 5 years of shady moves by Sienna. Funds funneled to her neighborhood's upgrades, while other areas crumbled, hefty payments to a landscaping consultant firm owned by her brother-in-law, and legal fees for boundary disputes disguised as routine advice. The whistleblower's note read, I've stayed silent too long, and I'm sorry. I can't watch our funds be misused and our trust betrayed anymore. I hadn't planned this, but I'd guided Kevin on spotting financial red flags thanks to my past work with a land dispute firm. By afternoon, Sunny Creek was in chaos. Homeowners demanded an emergency meeting to grill Sienna. The meeting was standing room only. Sienna, pale and cornered, sat up front with 2 board members. Kevin was a no-show. When Sienna tried starting the meeting, shouts for answers drowned her out. "These documents were stolen and twisted," she insisted, glaring at me. "Mister, Thorne's been sabotaging our HOA since he got here, and now he's roped someone into leaking private info." The crowd wasn't fooled. Homeowners fired off pointed questions. Why'd $60,000 go to your street's landscaping when the playground's been falling apart? One mom demanded. How do you justify $15,000 to your brother-in-law's company, which has 0 landscaping credentials? Another asked. Sienna's defenses crumbled. The room's anger turned to action. A motion to suspend her pending a full audit passed in a landslide. Cornered, Sienna snapped. "This is outrageous! You can't oust me! I've poured my life into this community! This is a witch hunt, just like last time. I won't let you strip me of this." The room froze. An older homeowner asked, "What do you mean, last time, Sienna?" Realizing her slip, she grabbed her purse and bolted, yelling about suing for defamation. After the meeting, Kevin texted me, "Need to talk. Creek trail by the pool, 20 minutes. When we met, Kevin was a mix of relief and fear. "She suspects it's me," he said. "Not sure, but she's close." "You did what was right," I told him. "The truth had to come out." He nodded. "There's more. It's about your house. Why Sienna's so obsessed. It ties to a failure from 10 years ago, a secret she's been desperate to bury." When Sienna threatened to sue, I was ready with the final weapon, a secret she'd hidden for a decade. This wasn't just about ending her HOA reign. It could land her in serious legal hot water. Over dinner with Rowan and Lyra at a downtown eatery, we unraveled Sienna's fixation on my house. "When Sienna first moved here, she tried buying my house," Rowan said. "I listed it briefly. Her offer was low, and when I passed, she took it personally. He opted to rent instead. 2 years later, weird things started with the property records. I got a county notice about a boundary change I supposedly filed," Rowan said. "It claimed I'd agreed to sell a 15-foot strip of my backyard to Sienna's property. My signature was on it, but I never signed anything. It was a cunning property scam. Someone forged documents claiming Rowan had sold a chunk of his land to Sienna. That strip would have linked her property to a scenic pond behind Lakeview Estates, skyrocketing its value. How'd she think she'd pull it off?" I asked. "The county clerk who processed it, Jeremy Watts, was connected to Sienna," Lyra explained. "His daughter's married to her cousin. The paperwork was rushed through, skipping standard checks. Rowan caught the fraud when tax records showed his property shrinking. He fought it, and the boundary change was undone. The county investigated, but with Watts retired and no hard proof of intent, it stayed administrative, not criminal. To keep it quiet," Rowan said, "we struck a deal. Sienna acknowledged the true boundaries, and in exchange for no charges, she guaranteed my property permanent pool access. That's the agreement you're using, born from her failed con." It clicked. My house was a living reminder of Sienna's botched scheme, a near-criminal fiasco. Denying my pool access wasn't just gatekeeping, it was her attempt to void an agreement that screamed of her past misdeeds. "She's been scrubbing HOA records to erase this," Kevin added. Key. Documents vanished, others were doctored. He'd recovered original board minutes from a cloud backup, detailing the boundary dispute resolution and the resulting pool access deal. "She's rewriting history," Kevin said. "If she could block your rights now, it'd set a precedent that the agreement was never valid, letting her claim it was fake." Lyra's legal gears were turning. "This isn't just HOA overreach. Forging property documents is a felony. If she's still hiding the original fraud, that could reset the statute of limitations. My house wasn't just a home. It was proof of Sienna's greatest defeat. Every glance at it reminded her of the wealth she'd missed and the fraud she'd dodged. We decided to hold this bombshell unless Sienna pushed us. We didn't expect her to do it so fast." A week later, a court summons hit my mailbox. The HOA, led by Sienna, was suing me for trespassing and property damage. It was the perfect stage to unveil everything in a courtroom she couldn't dodge. The summons, delivered 9 days after the chaotic HOA meeting, was titled Sunny Creek HOA versus Canyon Thorn. It accused me of trespassing, disruption, and demanded a ban from HOA facilities plus damages. Despite her suspension, Sienna filed as acting president, claiming the vote was flawed. I called Lyra, who was thrilled. "This is ideal," she said. "She's opened the floodgates for us to present everything, not just your pool rights, but her fraud and cover-up." Our response crushed their claims and countersued for harassment, misrepresentation, and cited her past fraud as proof of a pattern. The hearing was set for 3 weeks later. Sunny Creek was in upheaval. The audit uncovered more financial messes, and board members quit to dodge the scandal. At the courthouse, I arrived with Lyra to find 24 residents there to watch. Some nodded support. Others were just curious. Sienna swept in with her lawyer, Martin Reynolds, a grim man in a pricey suit. She oozed confidence, ignoring the neighbors. Judge Eleanor Bradshaw, a no-nonsense veteran, kicked things off. Reynolds painted me as a reckless outsider, repeatedly invading private property and unsettling the community. He sought a permanent ban and damages. Lyra dismantled their case with precision, presenting the original agreements, pool covenant, and Officer Asher's report confirming my rights. She shared stories from Lakeview neighbors who'd faced Sienna's wrath. "Your Honor," Lyra said, "Ms. Wren's obsession with my client's property isn't about HOA rules. We have proof she tried to fraudulently seize part of this property a decade ago with forged county documents." Sienna blanched as Lyra laid out the old records, investigation notes, and the pool access deal born from the fallout. Judge Bradshaw peered over her glasses at Sienna. "Ms. Wren, I'm concerned by what looks like a personal crusade via HOA powers. What's your response to claims you tried to steal property with fake documents?" Sienna, caught off guard, looked to Reynolds, but Bradshaw shut him down. "I'm asking Ms. Wren." Flustered, Sienna deflected. "Your Honor, those old claims were settled administratively. They're irrelevant." "Not so," Bradshaw countered. "They show a pattern. The pool rights Mr. Thorne uses were granted to resolve that dispute, a dispute you're now trying to rewrite through this lawsuit." Bradshaw tossed the HOA's case, affirming my pool rights and finding no damage. She granted part of our countersuit, ordering Sienna personally to cover my legal fees and a harassment award. Crucially, she referred the fraud evidence to the DA, noting that ongoing cover-up efforts might still be prosecutable. Outside, residents thanked me, some apologizing for the ordeal. The HOA's vice president shook my hand. "The boards. Sorry for this mess. Sienna's suspension is official. She's done." I glanced at Sienna, alone on the courthouse steps. Our eyes locked, and I saw not rage, but dread, the weight of a decade's lies collapsing. The lawsuit was my win, but a sweeter twist came later. A month after the hearing, a Sunny Creek HOA envelope arrived. Inside was a formal apology from the new board, with Kevin Vale's signature as interim president. "Dear Mr. Thorne," it read, "we deeply regret the mistreatment you endured under prior leadership. Sunny Creek HOA is committed to mending ties with our neighbors and honoring all property agreements." It confirmed my pool rights and invited me to a new committee fostering community unity. Kevin's handwritten note added, "None of this would have happened without you. Thanks for standing tall." Over coffee, Kevin shared updates. The audit's done. Sienna was siphoning funds for personal use, masking them as community projects. We're raising dues briefly to recover, but everyone's on board after seeing the truth. The new board rolled out reforms. Open financials, term limits, and homeowner votes for big decisions. They'd also hired surveyors to fix the boundaries for good. Sienna? She sold her house and skipped town. A young family, a doctor and a teacher, bought it, already blending into the neighborhood. Kevin slid me an envelope. "We wanted to thank you properly." Inside was a permanent pool pass with my name and a certificate honoring my role in restoring community trust. "We're adding a plaque by the pool," Kevin said. "Just a nod to shared access for Sunny Creek and Lakeview, in the spirit of good neighbors." That weekend, I hosted a barbecue, inviting Janet, Rowan, Kevin, and others tied to the saga. Over burgers and laughter, we marveled at the shift. "Sienna made enemies everywhere," Janet said. "But no one challenged her like you, Canyon." Rowan agreed. "In 25 years, I've never seen this place so connected. That line between Sunny Creek and Lakeview? It's fading." By dusk, my yard brimmed with folks from both neighborhoods, planning joint events. Officer Asher dropped by, invited by a resident. "In 15 years, that's the best HOA takedown I've seen," he chuckled. "You didn't just win, you made both communities stronger." Soon after, a local landscape firm offered me a job. They'd worked with the HOA under Sienna, but were impressed by my skills and community stand. The pool's grand reopening, with its new plaque, was the cherry on top. After a quick ceremony, I dove in with kids from both neighborhoods, floating under the sun and reflecting on the wild ride. What started as a quest to beat the heat became a community overhaul none of us saw coming. Sometimes, a Karen underestimating you is the spark a whole neighborhood needs. I'm proud I stood firm, because in the end, justice and the pool belongs to those who fight for it. Whether you're in Lakeview or Sunny Creek, they said I didn't belong. They called the cops, tried to find me, shame me, silence me, all for claiming a seat they swore wasn't mine. But I didn't fold. What began as one guy refusing to be erased grew into something massive. A reckoning for a Karen and a system built on fear, silence, and unchecked power. If you've ever felt small in a place you belong, this one's for you. If someone's told you, this isn't yours, remember, boundaries aren't just lines on a map. They're moments when you say, enough. So, hit the comments. Where have you drawn your line? And if you're still fighting, know this. You're not alone. One voice can ignite a fire they